I'm going to warn you right now. If you're a fan of American Airlines or you don't like snarky, sarcastic Maximus, you might as well click out now. Because I'm not going to let American Airlines weasel their way out of this one with the old oops, we didn't mean it defense. So buckle up, because the airline poo is about to hit the turbo fan. Next, on Maximus. So this story has been floating around for a while now. You know, lawsuits tend to drag on for years, if not decades. But if you're unfamiliar with the story, I'll bring you up to speed and then we'll get into the details of just how low American Airlines has sunk literally into the sewer on this one. And I have to be careful here if I want to be able to pay the rent this month, because this is one of those subjects YouTube could pull the plug on at any time. So some things may be blurred, or I may say some goofy words in place of others, but I'm sure we're all adults and we'll be able to read between the lines. It all began on September 2nd, 2023. A family of 4, mom, dad, and 2 young minor daughters boarded American Airlines Flight 1441 from Charlotte, North Carolina to Boston. While on that flight, one of the daughters, 14-year-old, we'll call her Mary Doe, needed to use the loo, as they say across the pond. But in the economy class, there was a line for both lavatories. That's when a nice man, who was not a minor, but a grown-ass man who was also employed as a flight attendant by American Airlines on the flight, told Mary Doe she could use the lav up in first class. He even escorted her personally. However, he went in first before her. He told her he needed to wash his hands. So then the minor Mary Doe went in to answer nature's call. But she came out terrified after she discovered that a camera had been taped underneath the lavatory seat with a flash on. Well, she ran back to her seat and told her dad and mom, and well, dad did what we all would have done and sprang into action. No, sadly, he didn't kick the crap out of the guy who put the camera in there, mostly because they weren't sure how it got there at the time. But they had a good idea. But long story short, Dad raised hell. Police met them at the gate in Boston, and not immediately, but in January after an investigation. This dirtbag former flight attendant, 36-year-old Estes Carter Thompson III, because of course he has 3 names, of Charlotte, North Carolina, was charged with 2 counts of, well, I can't tell you or show you exactly because YouTube, but one had to do with being the guy that put the camera in that specific place, and the other had to do with the images of similar Jane and Mary Does on his smartphone and other devices. Plus, the FBI found out through searching his devices this was far from the first time he had done this on American Airlines flights, and all of his victims were minors. So finally, Thompson was arrested on January 18 of this year in Lynchburg, Virginia, and will remain in custody pending his initial appearance in the Western District of Virginia. He will also appear in federal court in Boston at a later date. Okay, so fast forward to the family suing American Airlines because, hell yeah, they should. They should sue them for $1 trillion at least, and Americans should change the name of the airline to Mary Doe Airlines by the time her and other families get done suing this crappy airline. But playing devil's advocate, let's say it wasn't American Airlines' fault that this dirtbag slipped past their employment background checks. It happens, right? However, given that ridiculous hypothetical scenario, instead of doing what they should have done, which is settle instantly and give the family whatever amount of money they wanted, and free airline fare for life for Mary Doe and her future grandchildren, oh no, American did no such thing. Instead, they, through their greasy lawyers, actually and in print on court documents, blame the minor Jane or Mary Doe, not the filthy criminal flight attendant.
Seriously, when the going gets tough, you don't want a criminal lawyer, right? You want a criminal lawyer.
And what did American Airlines tell the court? Well, I'm glad you asked. Their reply to this lawsuit was, and I'm quoting verbatim, "Our defendant, American Airlines, would show that any injuries or illness alleged to have been sustained by plaintiff Mary Doe were approximately caused by plaintiff's own fault and negligence." The airline's attorneys added about the minor girl using the compromised lavatory on the plane. Oh, and keep in mind this specific Mary Doe was half the age of the other Mary Doe. American said in court that she knew or should have known the bathroom contained a visible and illuminated recording device. Wow, such compassion from American Airlines. Not only that, but after the story hit social media like in an instant, it lingered there for a few days before American Airlines suddenly issued a press release saying, "LOL, we were just kidding. Our lawyers weren't supposed to say that." Well, at least not put it in writing. And it was then and there, and also thanks to subscriber Lila for nudging me to make this video. Thank you, Lila, for all your news tips. I appreciate them and you. Do you believe American Airlines attorneys really just made a mistake and weren't supposed to say that? Hell no, it wasn't a mistake, and it wasn't a mistake that a dirtbag flight attendant was a repeat offender and no one knew. That's highly unlikely. And I really hope that these poor families of Mary and Jane Doe and the other victims take American Airlines to the cleaners. American and its shareholders need to pay for this. Okay, so again, I have to tread carefully here, but I want to show you the lawsuit the family filed and fill you in on the facts of that fateful day. And as always, I'll leave it up to you to tell me what you think in the comment section. Okay, so these are the actual court documents filed on December 1st, 2023, and I have to say what I'm about to read and show you is terrifying and absolutely damning for American Airlines. And I'll probably skip some of what you're reading on the screen just for time's sake, but I'll post a link to the full PDF so you can read it if you'd like. Okay, starting at number 12. On September 2, 2023, Mary Doe boarded American Airlines Flight 1441 to fly from her home in Charlotte, North Carolina to Boston. Midway through the flight, Doe rose from her seat and walked to the middle of the plane to use one of the two restrooms located in the economy class section closest to her seat. Both economy class bathrooms were occupied when she got there, so she waited outside for one of them to vacate. She was first in line. While she waited, a male flight attendant, Estes Carter Thompson, approached her and told her she could use the bathroom located at the front of the plane in first class, because it would be faster. Mary Doe looked down the aisle of the plane and noticed that the occupied sign located by the first class bathroom was lit, indicating that the bathroom was also in use. Given that the first class bathroom was currently occupied, she thought it was odd that the flight attendant directed her to move to the front of the plane to use that bathroom. However, as a 14-year-old, she had been taught to respect adults. Additionally, given his position as a flight attendant and an authority figure, she felt obligated to follow his directions. The flight attendant proceeded to lead Plaintiff Doe down the aisle of the airplane to the first-class bathroom. By the time they arrived, the bathroom was open and available for use. The flight attendant, however, told the plaintiff that he needed to quickly go in the bathroom first to wash his hands because he said the flight crew was about to circulate the plane to pick up trash. Again, this explanation seemed peculiar to the plaintiff, given that it made more sense for him to wash his hands after collecting trash as opposed to prior to doing so. Smart kid, I was thinking the same thing. Nevertheless, the male flight attendant entered the bathroom and closed the door, while Mary Doe waited. He was in the bathroom for approximately 1 minute when he emerged and told her the toilet seat in there was broken. But don't worry about it, we're going to get it fixed when we get back to Charlotte. Plaintiff entered the bathroom and noticed that the toilet seat lid, which was raised, had red tape on the lid. On the tape was a handwritten note in black that said "seat broken." Plaintiff turned around, locked the door, and proceeded to use the facility as intended. After she was done, she got a better look at the tape on the toilet seat and saw that hidden underneath the tape was a mobile phone. The camera lens on the phone and the camera flash were both visible below the bottom of the tape. The camera flash was on. Plaintiff was shocked and scared. It immediately occurred to her that someone had put the phone there to film her. She had her own phone with her and took a picture of the toilet seat so she could show her parents. Smart kid. This is the photograph she took. When she emerged from the bathroom, the male flight attendant was still outside waiting for her. As soon as she exited the bathroom, he went back into the same bathroom and locked the door. The flight attendant retained possession of his phone for another hour. Plaintiff quickly returned to her seat where she immediately showed the photograph to her mother. Once plaintiff's mother understood what happened, she rushed to the front of the plane to warn other passengers. When plaintiff's mother reached the front of the airplane, another female passenger was just about to enter the bathroom. Plaintiff's mother told the woman not to use the bathroom and explained what happened to her daughter. Plaintiff's mother looked into the bathroom that plaintiff had used, but the phone and the tape were gone. The female first-class flight attendant noticed a commotion and asked plaintiff's mother what was going on. Plaintiff's mother explained everything to the first-class flight attendant. The first-class flight attendant responded by saying, "This is very serious. I have to tell the pilot about this." Plaintiff and her mother then returned to row 14 and told plaintiff's father what happened. So her father looked around and noticed that all the flight attendants were meeting in the back of the plane. He immediately walked to the back of the plane, where the 4 flight attendants were gathered, including the male flight attendant who had directed his daughter to use the first-class bathroom, the female first-class flight attendant, and 2 other female flight attendants. The father approached the group and said, "What the hell just happened in the first-class bathroom with my daughter?" The other 2 female flight attendants looked shocked. The father showed them the photograph his daughter had taken and said, "Look at this picture. Someone was filming my daughter in the first-class bathroom." Then the father turned to the male flight attendant on his right-hand side and said, You were the one who told her to go in there. I want to see your phone." Then the male flight attendant turned white as a ghost and denied everything. "I have nothing to do with this." Plaintiff's father repeated, "Show me your phone." The male flight attendant walked down the aisle toward the front of the plane, ostensibly to get his phone. In the meantime, plaintiff's father stayed in the back of the plane, speaking to the other 3 female attendants. So the 2 flight attendants who had not seen the picture asked to do so, and the father showed them. Then the father realized that the male flight attendant had not yet returned from the front of the plane. Then he looked down the aisle and saw the male flight attendant standing in the aisle at the front of the plane, tapping furiously on his phone. So the father rushed down the aisle and grabbed the man's phone out of his hands. But by the time the father acquired the phone, it was locked. Let me stop here. Have you ever happened to run into my twin sons, Rocco and Gino? Yes, that's their real names. And if you asked them how their old pop Maximus would have handled this situation, well, put it this way. I'd be rocking an orange jumpsuit for a while. But I digress. Finally, the male flight attendant begrudgingly showed the father the photos on his phone, but the father didn't see anything that looked like his daughter using the bathroom. But the father only had a cursory look at the flight attendant's phone and was not able to look for long. The other 3 flight attendants said they were going to inform the pilot. At this point, it became clear to the father that none of the flight attendants, including the first-class flight attendant, had informed the pilot. Instead, the flight attendants waited to tell the pilot until after the perv flight attendant had already been hip to the fact that the furious dad was on to him. Then the father returned to his seat. Multiple flight attendants approached the father during the second half of the flight and apologized for what happened. They told him the male flight attendant would have his bags searched upon landing. However, none of the flight attendants or the pilot seized the male attendant's phone. During the approximately 1 hour remaining portion of the flight, the American Airlines perpetrator had complete unfettered access to his phone the whole time. In fact, the FBI told the mom that the other attendants on the flight reported that after being confronted by the father, the male perv went into the airplane bathroom with his phone for an extended period of time. When the plane landed in Boston, approximately 4 to 5 Massachusetts law enforcement officers were there, including a detective waiting. Mary Doe and her parents gave the flight attendants relevant information and sent the plaintiff's photograph of the toilet seat. The officers asked an American Airlines representative who was also there if there was any way a passenger could have access to the red tape that had been used to hold the phone. The airline's representative said no, the tape was not accessible to passengers. The police removed the male flight attendant from the plane. Shortly thereafter, the detective approached Mary Doe with a telephone and asked her whether the phone looked like the phone she had seen hidden under the red tape. She said, yeah, it was the same. It was blue and had a case with distinctive scratches or a pattern on it. From there, cops took the family to the police station at the airport where the family gave the officers more information. At the police station, the family also met with the FBI. And the rest of the story you already know. However, the dirtbag is in jail, hopefully getting a taste of his own medicine as he awaits trial. And the lawsuit is moving slowly through the courts. I know that's a lot to take in, but now it's your turn to let me know what you think. Should American Airlines be held accountable for this mess? If you ask me, I say hell yeah. And I hope someday Mary Doe owns American Airlines. I really do. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Do all that YouTubey stuff. And until next time, yeah, this is Maximus.